Yo.
What up, though?
I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
All right, then. It's time for you to bring it to the table.
Turn up your radio wherever you at. We about to bring it.
Street Beat.
Yeah.
With Tony B. For the next hour, Tony B will give you a chance to tackle local, national, and international issues that affect your community. Street Beat. Street Beat with Tony B.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Street Beat. It's me, your host, Tony B. Got a special show for you this morning. It's about healthcare, something that everyone is impacted by. My guest this morning is from WA Cares, Mary Mitchell. Mary, how are you?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm interested in finding out more about WA Cares.
All right.
And sharing information. As a matter of fact, we're going to try and explain to you everything you've ever wanted to know about WA Cares, but were afraid to ask or didn't know that you were supposed to ask.
All right. That's a tall task, but let's do it.
Okay, let's start off for anyone who's unfamiliar, or even if you are familiar. We're going to dive into this deeper, but a very simple explanation to get this started about WA Cares and what it is and why it's here.
Okay. So first, I'm actually with the Human Services Department with the City of Seattle.
Oh, okay.
And I'm the director over the Aging and Disability Services Division.
You know what? And I have that information as well.
Yeah.
And you're a spokesperson for WA Cares.
Well, we are in support of WA Cares.
Okay.
And so we are the AAA, which is the Area Agency on Aging. And we provide a host of services for older adults and individuals with disabilities.
Okay.
And so WA Cares is actually targeted for working adults. But if you think of like people that are on Medicaid, those are the clients that we actually provide service for. But because we have such a wonderful network, a lot of people know, a lot of working people that are not currently our clients know about our services. And so it just makes it a perfect pairing that we are, the AAAs are in support of WA Cares.
Okay, so we got a lot of things that we need to uncover here. I want to go back and cover.
Okay.
Let's find out first a little bit more about you.
Okay, all right.
And your background. Where are you from and what led you to this position that you're in that I want to talk about a little bit?
Okay,
Yeah.
so I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
The granddaughter of Mary and Dewey Hunter off of 20th and Main Street. And I've worked for the city of Seattle for 32 years.
Oh, whoa, okay.
Yes, I started out in the police department selling police reports and helping people find their vehicles when their cars were impounded. And just through a journey of
well, we are live and we are at
live.
Rainier Avenue and there's an emergency going on. Okay, go ahead. Well,
and
almost.
So one more. There we go. And so I, started at the city young, and just through my career, landed me in parking enforcement, the director over the business inspectors. And then I joined this team April of 21. The previous director was moving to another position, and they needed someone to come in and just help out the team while they search for the new director.
Okay.
And then I got over there and saw the wonderful services and the awesome team, and I applied for the full-time position, and here I am. So this is not my background, but my love of organizational development and people and community. It's been a perfect match.
Awesome. Now, where did you go to high school?
Where I know I'm wearing the wrong colors today, but I did go to Garfield High School.
Okay.
I thought about that when I put it on this morning. It's okay.
Another proud bulldog.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Quaker, but I know there are
Okay.
a lot of proud bulldogs all over the place. You said
Yes.
20th and Main. I figured as much, so I figured it'd be an opportunity to give Garfield another shout out.
Another shout out. Yes.
And I want to talk about the city department that you work for, which once again is
It's the Human Services Department,
Mhm.
and within that is the Aging and Disability Services Division.
Okay, Aging Disability Services Division. Let's talk a
Yes.
little bit about that specific department
Okay.
and what you do there and why it exists.
Okay. So, 51 years ago,
Mhm.
the Older Americans Act was created, right? And within that act,
Older Americans Act.
Older Americans Act.
And
I
that- is that-
apologize. My sinuses are.
Oh no, and is this a federal?
Yes,
Mhm.
it's a federal act.
Mhm.
And within that act, they created the area agencies on aging.
Mhm.
And our roles are to administer programs such as Medicaid on
Mhm.
behalf of the state through DSHS.
Mhm.
And so my division is in the city of Seattle, but we provide services for all of King County.
Oh boy. Okay.
Right. And so we have an agreement with King County where we work really closely together with them. But it's been housed in the city of Seattle for 51 years.
Mhm. And you work with working adults
Yes.
and
Well, so over 60 adults
Mhm.
and then individuals with disabilities.
okay,
And we provide services for caregivers.
okay. Now, WA Cares, at the end of the day, this is about providing funding or services for those who need additional services, maybe long-term care.
So if you think about, you have your medical insurance,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
you get sick, you
So I'm
get your
trying to figure
insurance.
this out too.
Right. Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. It gets complicated.
Mhm.
Right. And then most people have life insurance,
Right.
right? So when we pass away, we'll help our families to be able to take care
Mhm.
and replace our income,
Mhm.
right? But so WA Cares fits right in between. So what
Okay.
happens if you get a physical sickness or you get in an accident and now you find yourself needing long-term care?
Mhm.
So maybe you're in a wheelchair and now your life has completely changed from what
Mhm.
it was. So who's going to help you like get out of bed, take a bath, brush your teeth, with transportation needs, or
Mhm.
even modifying your home to be able to now accommodate your new life?
Mhm.
So that's where long-term care comes in.
Okay. And in order to be eligible for WA
Yes.
Cares, what are some of the barriers? What are the entry points? Well, how do you access WA Cares? Let's
Mhm.
give some folks information so that we can say, okay, am I eligible for this? Is this something that I
Mhm.
may need? How do I, if I'm in this position right now and I don't know about this, what do I do?
Okay, so well, first I do want to say that this is a first in the nation state program.
First in the nation.
First in the nation.
Okay.
Right. So our legislators
Mhm.
identified that long term is so expensive,
Mhm.
and only about a third of Washingtonians prior to long term care, prior to WA Cares, had long term care coverage.
Mhm.
Right. So that's a gap that our state legislators, right, decided that it was a bipartisan effort.
Mhm.
And they said, we're going to come together, put together this fund. And so if you look on your paycheck, you'll see where you're paying a tax that goes into the WA Cares Fund.
Okay.
So that started January of 2023.
Okay.
And so in June or July of 2026 is when we will be eligible to access the benefits.
Okay.
And so there's a website, WA Cares, WACARES.wa.gov, that will walk you through like what benefits are available. So essentially, you'll create an online account, and then you'll go through and describe like what your situation is.
Mhm.
They'll determine like what services you need and determine your eligibility. And we have to pay into the fund up to 10 years, but starting 2026 is when, for special circumstances, people will be able to apply and access the funds. But normally it's you pay into the fund for 10 years and then you can access the benefits. But you are able to access it before the 10 years.
Okay. I want to unravel this a little bit. It's a lot of information. We're talking about the first in the nation new program. One of my questions, which you already answered, was how is this funded? But this comes from a tax that started in 2023.
2023.
Okay.
And it's capped at 0.058%. Right. So in order for that to be changed, it would require legislation to increase that amount. So as inflation increases, that tax amount will increase, but it cannot go above 0.58% of your paycheck.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea of what that looks like dollar-wise, for somebody that's making an average of $50,000 a year, that's about $291 a year that they're paying in the tax. And the maximum that they'll pay is about $8,000. And then that gives you $36,500 worth of long-term care coverage.
Okay. Now, if you have to pay into this for 10 years to be eligible, but this is started in 2023.
Right.
How does it work for folks who say, okay, well, if 2026 this starts, who's eligible? How do I become eligible? I have to pay for 10 years. How does that work out?
Well, so 10 years is like the benchmark time frame that they set, right? But in 2026, when the fund is now open, if you have a situation where you find yourself that you're needing long-term care, then you go through the review process.
Okay.
Right. So that's where it's not locked into the 10 years, but all of the research that was done on like how much money is needed to fund the program, that's the framework that was what the model that was set up around paying into it for 10 years. But they know that people are going to need the benefits before then.
Okay.
So you just have to go through the process, create your account, and go through the review to see what you're qualified for.
Okay, so you correct me if I'm wrong here. If you need long-term care, you're over 60, you're working, and you've been paying into this since 2023, is that
right? And now it's all working people in Washington State.
All working people
all
in
ages.
Washington State.
Yes.
Then you will be eligible for WA Cares. So now, do you have to be a Washington State resident for X amount of years, or are you just work in Washington, or?
I do not recall if there's a limit on like the amount of time you have to be a resident, but the requirements are that you're living in Washington and you're working in Washington.
Okay, living in Washington, working in Washington. If you've worked in Washington, I'm forecasting out. If you've worked in Washington and you leave Washington, are you still eligible for WA Cares?
They have worked out portability, and so I'll have to. The website will actually have more information on that, because that was an area where people were concerned. Like if I retire, right, and I've paid into this, but I'm going to retire and go live in Oregon or Arizona, right? So they have figured out the portability issues around that. So I would encourage people to go to the website, that wacares.wa.gov, to get all the detailed information about portability.
You are listening to Street Beat. It's me, Tony B. My guest is Mary Mitchell. What's that the City Department of Aging and
the Human Services Department, the Aging and Disability Services Division.
Okay. And
also the Area Agency on Aging. For Seattle and King County.
That's a mouthful. And what is your title again in all of this?
So I'm the director of the Aging and Disability Services Division.
Aging and Disability Services Division. So what are the maximum? Is there a maximum? If you need long-term care, that can be a long time.
Right.
Is there a maximum amount of benefits that you can be eligible for? And what do you have to do to be eligible for the maximum benefits?
To be eligible, you just have to pay into the fund.
That's it.
Right, pay into the fund. Right now, the maximum amount is the $36,500. But that will increase as inflation increases each year.
Okay.
Yes.
36,500.
Yes.
Okay. And what does this cover? I know it probably covers, but if there's some basic fundamental things that this covers that folks should know about right now,
Right.
what are those things?
So if you think of like what are referred to as the activities of daily living, right? From when you wake up in the morning and you need to get out of bed and you need to take a bath, you need to brush your teeth, you need help with your medication, or maybe you're suffering from like some memory loss or recalling things, and you need someone to come in and assist you, right? So you can use this fund to hire someone to help you with those activities of daily living. Yes.
Okay. And there is an amount of money. A bottom line of what I'm getting to is you're not eligible for this. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Until I think it is you have less than $2,000 in your savings account. Am I wrong about that?
You're wrong about that one.
Okay.
So that applies to Medicaid.
Okay.
Right. People on Medicaid cannot have more than $2,000 to qualify for Medicaid services. For this, because it's a tax, everyone is qualified for it.
Okay.
Right. So, it's something that we normally don't think about, right? But you cross the street, you get hit by a car, right? And now your life has been changed forever. Who's going to take care of you? When I think about my grandmother, Mary Hunter, when she was, at the end of her life, my family was fortunate to have my Aunt Dorothy, who was able to take her into her home and help her with her activities of daily living, right? If we didn't have that network of support, someone would have had to quit their job, or God forbid, we would have had to put her in a nursing home, to have that care. So this provides that little bit of a safety net to help families when you're dealing with an emergent situation and you're trying to figure out like what's going on with yourself or your loved one. The last thing you need to be worrying about is, I have to go to work, right? But now my mom needs care today, immediately, right? So that's a difficult decision that a lot of people are facing right now.
Yeah.
Right. And what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to figure out how to take care of mom. Right. But
Yes.
then you still have to pay your bills and keep the lights on. So this definitely is a service that's needed because it's that area where we just don't think about as we go along our everyday life until we need it. And that's the wrong time to think about it, is when you need it.
Okay. So I'm going to make sure, because I'm going to be clear. If you have savings,
yes,
and you've worked all your life for your savings, and you need WA Cares, you don't have to be at a position where you've depleted your savings.
No,
to
you
be
do
eligible.
Not. No, not for WA Cares. Right. That's the beauty of it. You can keep your savings. You can decide how you want to use your savings, and you can still use this benefit.
Okay. How are the benefits paid out? I know that might be a big question.
Right.
But how are the benefits paid out?
So they're paid out directly to the service provider. So let's say you need to have some grab bars put in the bath to help you get in and out of the bathtub, right? So a contractor would come in and do the work, and the WA Cares fund would pay that contract, would reimburse that contractor.
Okay.
And it would be the same if you had a caregiver coming into your house. The caregiver would be paid from WA Cares.
Okay. Again, another question. If you're already retired,
yes,
and but you did work. Remember, you didn't work before WA Cares came into 2023. Are you still eligible for WA Cares, or do you have to have been working since 2023 to begin the eligibility process?
You have to, the eligibility will start when you start working. So if you start working today, you would start paying into it today.
Okay.
So if you have not paid into the fund, then you would not be eligible for the coverage.
Okay. What if you started working?
Yes.
And then you were only able to continue working for 6 months to a year? Are you still eligible for maximum benefits, or is it prorated in some way?
That's a good question, and I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Because, well, you do have to pay into the fund for that minimum amount of time period. So I'm not sure how like partial time is being handled.
Okay.
But I'm sure the website would have that
The website
more information.
We'll have that information. And
Yes.
what is that website again?
That's WACARES.WA.gov.
Okay. And so this is, again, something that's there for you to access if you're eligible.
Yes.
It comes out of everyone's paycheck. I think you said 58 cents or
0.58%. It will not go above that unless the laws change. Yes.
Okay. And for those who are saying, well, again, this is good information. It's still a little confusing. This is a new program. I haven't thought about long-term care. And you did talk about this a little bit. Let's talk once again so that folks are ready to embrace this. Long-term care.
Long-term care. Yes.
How does that happen? When does that, and it can happen, I guess, at any time, but let's talk about the importance of long-term care and the needs that you may have for long-term care.
Okay. So it can happen several different ways, right?
So if I have a diabetic,
right,
you know,
and you get to a point to where you can no longer get out of bed, right? You can no longer do those things for yourself, and you need someone, right, to help you come in. And it doesn't have to be all of the areas, right? Maybe it's 2 or 3 of the areas where you need help with. So the normal aging process is where we see long-term care coming into play right now, right? As we get older and we start experiencing, you know, maybe some memory loss, or we're getting confused on things, or we may need just a little bit of assistance with making sure we're taking our medication on time and the correct dosage. So that's, you know, just a normal aging process. But then also we have just situations that happen, accidents, right? Car accidents or health conditions that, you know, change your ability to be able to take care of yourself, right? You have some type of disease or ailment to where you're no longer able to fully function without assistance.
Right.
So that's where that long-term care support comes in.
Okay. And this is, you may have a chronic illness that turns into a situation where you need long-term care, or you might have an accident.
Correct.
That limits your ability to do the things that you need to do for yourself.
Correct.
And that makes you eligible.
Right.
For the long-term care as well.
Yes.
Is there an age at which this starts that you say, okay, this is now something that I can begin to look into?
No, there's not an age, right? So I think that's the good thing about the program. It's there for when you need it.
Okay.
Right? Because normally we think of long-term care is when you're older.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're in your 20s and you've been working and you've been paying into the fund and you know you love riding your motorcycle and you get in an accident, right? And now your life has changed. Right? But you're still in your 20s and you need that care in your 20s, you can go through the process to see what you're eligible for. So it's not dependent on an age, it's dependent on the circumstance.
Okay, the circumstances dictate your eligibility.
Yes.
For WA cares.
Yes.
That's good news.
Yes.
That is good news. Again, my guest is Mary Mitchell, and I'm going to let her one more again tell you this title of the city of Seattle. What is that title again?
We go to the Director of Aging and Disability Services.
Director of Aging and Disability Services. I think that, and how long has this been something that the city has had in place? Because I've never heard of it before this.
So this division, 51 years.
51 years we have had an aging and disability services
in the city of Seattle.
Okay.
Yes.
And primarily, what does that department look to do? I mean, this is something that's obviously critical. Seniors that we have. So what again does that department do? And
so We administer a lot of federal funds and a lot of city funds.
Okay.
So in the areas of nutrition, transportation, we partner with a lot of community organizations to help us. So in King County, we provide services for about a quarter of the state's aging population, which is about 50,000 people. And so there's no way that our division could do that on our own. And so we work with community partners like Asian Counseling and Referral Services, the African American Elders Program that's in Catholic Community Services, the Chinese Information Service Center, Neighborhood House, the list goes on and on and on. We have several community partners that help us. We also partner with the senior centers. So congregate meals is one area that we provide funding for. So when you go into a senior center, and a lot of senior centers have chefs that are making like meals from scratch, and if we also fund transportation, a lot of wonderful services just to help people to be able to age in place, but also to help reduce social isolation, which can lead to depression. And we also provide services such as respite. So if you're taking care of a loved one, and maybe you just need someone to come in and give you a little bit of break, so that's called respite services.
Okay. Yeah. Now, if someone is listening, because we're almost out of time.
Okay.
Someone is listening right now. We're talking about, first of all, a first in the nation program.
Yes.
And even though this has been in place for 51 years, Walk Cares, this is still fairly new.
Walk Cares is new.
Walk Cares is new.
Yes.
And there are folks out there who have been listening to this conversation and they're hearing it go, well, wait a minute, I think I might be eligible for something like this. But there's this thing that people have, which is called, I don't know about dealing with the government.
Okay.
Is this going to be more effort for me to put in, cause me more frustration? So what would you say to somebody out there who may be eligible for this program right now, but have had bad experiences in dealing with the government before and could be accessing these particular funds for their long-term care? What would you say to someone out there right now about Walk Cares and about saying, hey, this funding is here to help you?
So I would say starting July of 2026 is when the benefits will be available. Okay. And we do have a challenging past with government, right? And but I will say we have a network of AAAs, the Area Agencies on Agency, and we have
AAA. Say that one more again.
AAAs, Area Agencies on Aging.
On aging, okay.
And we are really focused on making sure that our communities get the service in the way that we need, right? So it's not one cookie cutter way. So whether it's translation services or being able to talk to somebody that looks like you, has a similar background, understands your, maybe hesitancy with government, we really work to make sure that we have a diverse workforce, that we're partnering with communities that are focusing on providing services to communities of color, because we know that inherent complicated relationship is there. And so the AAAs do a wonderful job of bridging that gap and bringing that human-centered approach to helping people walk through and understand the services that are available.
Okay. We got about a minute left, and I want to give this an opportunity for you for final words. But I just like to, one more again, talk about these acronyms that you're probably comfortable with. But AAA, Area
Agencies on Aging.
Agency of Aging.
Yes.
Okay.
And most importantly, if I just want to leave with people, Community Living Connections is the one-stop shop to find out about the resources across all of the AAAs. Okay. So if you just Google search Community Living Connections, you can get in contact with your local AAA to find out about all of the other services that we offer. And then for the Walk Cares, they have a really good website set up, periodically.wa.gov.
Okay. Mary, I want to thank you for coming and allowing me to fire off all these questions. This is something that 2026 is when you become eligible
Yes.
to be in this, and you're getting a jump on getting the word out now.
Yes. Yes.
So that folks become aware of this. I think you have done a wonderful job of explaining this. I still have a bunch of more questions. I know folks out there probably like, whoa, this is a lot of information. So we'll have to do this again.
And let's do it again.
As we get closer to the time to make sure that folks, because again, this is the benefit of our community.
It really is. And it really is. And we need the community to support this program because without it, what do you have?
Yeah.
You're going to be left trying to figure this out on your own. So we need community to rally around and support this. Our state legislators have done a great job of identifying a gap for 2/3 of the state, right? And so we have to just keep investing in this program and growing it. And, we're leading the nation. So,
Well, this is a long-term care is not something you want to first start thinking about when you need long-term care.
Right. You want to be able to focus on the person that's in need, whether it's yourself or your loved one. That's where your energy and attention should be.
All right. Thank you, Mary, for joining me.
Thank
you
you
for what you do.
Thank you.
As well. I think you're the right person to be doing this.
Thank you.
This is Tony B. You've been listening to Street Beat. We've been talking about WA Cares, learning more about long-term care. 2026 is when this goes into effect. 2023 is when you started paying into it. And that website, again, faces right now, where I have some questions where there weren't necessarily answers ready. That website
is WACARES.wa.gov. WACARES.wa.gov.
WACARES.wa.gov. Go check it out. Tell somebody else. Make sure that folks know about this. $36,500 potentially available. Am I right about that?
There, you got it.
About ready for you for long-term care if you need it. That's it. That's all the time I have. It's me, Tony B, saying, remember, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are probably right. I'm out. Peace.